Hello, everyone. Welcome into the SSFFL Fantasy Podcast. I'm Chuck, your host, and I'm about to admit my other host into right now so that I can introduce them again. And we're going to get started on today's podcast. Alrighty, I got my other two hosts with me right now, Tony Lyon and Joe. How you guys
Hello.
doing today?
Doing well, hanging in there.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear. How about you, Joe?
Joe's gone. Joe just disappeared. So
Okay, audio issues there, I guess. Not sure. But anyways, we're gonna get started on today. He'll join us as soon as he gets his audio fixed. So the first topic that we were gonna discuss today was top 10 quarterbacks in the draft via trade or free agency. So I got a list of the top 10 guys. I actually have 11 guys on my list because I found one guy to fall outside of that list. And, I'll just start with that guy. So the guy that felt outside of this list for me in a top 10 list was Andy Dalton. I just don't know what Andy Dalton has left in the tank. I feel like everybody expected him to do really well with the Cowboys last season and just did not go as well as most people thought it should have. What's your take on Andy Dalton for next season, Tony?
I mean he's a serviceable backup, right? I mean, if you're a team looking for a really good backup who can, get in there if you need him for a game or two, that's great. I have a friend over in Cincinnati and she's a huge Andy Dalton fan, more because of the charity work that he does and the kind of guy he is, which is great and all. And that's maybe you want a good locker room guys. I think that matters a lot more than I think people give credit. So if you need kind of a good kind of just personality, a good leader, a good dude in the locker room who could help you for a couple games or even just a couple quarters if you need it, that you could do a lot worse than Andy Dalton. If you're looking for a starter, I'd say steer clear, but I don't know. I mean, if you look at this past season, when the Bears season started, for example, if you would have said, would you rather have Nick Foles or Andy Dalton? A lot of people would have said Foles, but I think as the season went on, people probably would have felt maybe a little more comfortable with Dalton. I don't know. So I don't know. That's just my opinion.
That's a good take there. I do agree with you for the most part on that take. However, the whole thing with the Foles and Andy Dalton thing, I think Foles would have done equally good, if not better, in Dallas with that line and with all those weapons. Foles just came in with no offensive line for the Bears, only like one weapon with Robinson. They didn't start using Komet till towards the end of the season. He relied on Jimmy Graham a lot too, which is fine because I'm sure he really loves Zach Ertz down in Philadelphia. But if you were to ask me, I definitely would have said I wanted Foles over Dalton for sure. So I do agree with you with that part. I just don't know how much he has left in the tank, though. I mean, he's getting up there in age. I think, it's possible that the best years have already passed him. So we'll see. We'll see who picks him up. And then, so, my list, I'll just run through my list really quick, and then you could run through yours. And if we have Joe in here, he could run through his too, but I'm not sure if he's fixed his audio yet. So
I'm here.
Oh, okay. He is here. Awesome. Well, Joe, why don't you start with your list? We're doing the top 10 quarterbacks via trade, draft, or free agency. So why don't you give us your list?
Let me see here. You mean in the league right now?
Yes, we're going.
Not fantasy style.
No. Well, if you want to take some time to think about it, we're going to go with, we'll do Tony first and then I'll go after. But we're just doing the top 10 quarterbacks in the draft via the draft, trade, or free agency. So, for example, the rookies coming in from college, the free agents out there, the guys that are going to get traded, maybe like Watson or something. So that's what we're doing. So, Tony, do you have a list?
I do. Joe, do you want to go or I can go? It's up to you, bud.
First, you can go first. I can see if I agree with it.
Oh, good. Yes, critique me as I go.
By all means, go ahead.
Okay, well, obviously the number one is Colt McCoy. No, so if I'm gonna go from this descending, I put Ryan Fitzpatrick at 10 just because I think he surprises people, and he just, I mean, you know, who else? What other than, I guess, Brady can you know, hit their prime when they're 38 years old, but here we are with Ryan Fitzpatrick. What's that?
Right.
Beard is magic.
That beard is magic. It's beautiful.
That beard is. Yeah, indeed it is.
So, I mean, if you're a team who's like, you know, if you got enough good players around you and you just kind of, you don't want to break the bank on a quarterback and everything, I mean, I think you could, at the rate he's shown, I mean, if you just need a good guy for one season, like if you need it for like a transition year for a rookie backup or something, or just to help give, you know, a little bit of cushion or leeway to a young quarterback, if you have one, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick could be a lot worse. That you could do a lot worse than Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean,
agreed.
Number 9, I'm going to say Sam Darnold, just because I know his name is out there. And I mean, he had a really good season with the Jets, and then he kind of struggled last season. He had a lot of issues last season. So who knows, maybe if he has a new home, or if the Jets stop being the Jets, maybe he has a better season. I'm going to say Jameis Winston at number 8, just because I always like to hear, I mean, you always have a comeback story, right? And maybe he finally gets a different opportunity. Maybe, I don't know, New Orleans. I don't know. Who knows? But I just think maybe give him an opportunity, the right coach, the right environment to succeed, and maybe you get something good out of him.
Stop doing them crab legs.
Yeah, it's the crab legs. That's what it's what's screwing him up, I think, still. 7, I'm saying the greatest quarterback that has ever played for the Chicago Bears, that would be Mitch Trubisky, just because.
Interesting. You got Trubisky on your list, huh?
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of uncertainty.
I would not touch Trubisky in this list at all. Just wanted to throw that out there, but I had no intention of putting Trubisky in there. And actually, like as you were speaking, you did make a case for Jameis Winston, and I actually totally forgot to actually add him in this list because originally when I was going through it, I had Marcus Mariota as my number 10 on there, but I really don't know how I feel about Mariota. Like I actually feel a little bit better about Jameis Winston than I do about Mariota. And I know the guy threw 30 interceptions, okay, but he also passed for over 5,000 yards. So most of that was probably because the Bucs were behind, and yeah, he threw picks. And they were behind because of that too. But when a guy throws for 5,000 yards and over 30 touchdowns, that's saying a lot. Not to mention he was a Heisman winner, was he not, Joe?
Yes, he was.
Okay, so if the Bears can get a guy like that, I would not be opposed to that whatsoever. You could pair him, sign Robinson on a 1-year franchise tag, get Jameis Winston in there to sling the ball to him. We got the field stretcher in I forgot his name already. The receiver from last season, the guy that Mooney, I think it was Mooney, yeah. So Mooney is a good field stretcher. To me, he's like Devin Hester, except he can catch. He's fast and he gets open. But I like Winston though. I really do. But yeah. Go ahead, Tony. Finish your list.
Yes.
Yeah. So 7, I had Mitch just because we don't know what's going to go on with him, and we just don't know what's going on in the Bears' minds. I mean, you keep hearing the Bears' names linked to stuff. No man, we don't know the seriousness of it, but yeah, I'm a big believer of the where there's smoke, there's fire. So if they move, even if they you hear a lot of the rumors. I know that big rumor that came around. What was it for? Was it for Deshaun Watson or something, where they said Foles, Cohen, and a first or something? I forgot.
It's going to take a lot more than one first to get Watson. But yeah,
it might not have even been. Yeah, and it might not have even been for Watson. It could have been for another quarterback for all I remember. But that tells me that they want to keep Mitch, but that also could be just a garbage rumor, or it could mean that they want to push Mitch and say, hey, this job is not guaranteed to be yours. You need to do something to prove it. You need to show us that you want to keep this, or we're just going to find somebody who can replace you to do it. So I don't know. I
it's a good point. Like, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's a very valid point that you're saying. It's just that I personally feel like he already passed that. Like, he's been with the Bears for what, 4 years now, 3-4 years. They drafted him in 2017 as a number 2 guy. When you draft a guy number 2 overall, you expect him to come in and sling the ball and just be the offense. Like, he hasn't been like that for us since we've gotten him. And I feel like they just given him way too many chances. And I don't, at this point, I blame the coaching. I blame the GM, but I also blame him too. He's not entirely to not blame. But who knows, if he goes to a different offense, to a different team, he might be better. I mean, we've seen this happen before with guys like Ryan Tannehill. That's a good example there. I'm sure there's a couple other examples out there too, if you guys want to mention one of those. But
I could definitely say Mitch reminds me of Joey Harrington. I was high on Joey Harrington coming out of college. They just couldn't cut it in the NFL.
Yeah, it happens. I mean,
great quarterback at Oregon.
No, it happens. Exactly. Like, guys light it up in college, and they just come in to the league, and it's a different story, different atmosphere, and they just do not perform well or do as good as you hope they would. An example of that would be that quarterback coming in from what's his name? Trey Lance. That quarterback, Trey Lance. To me, I feel like he does have a lot of talent. He's kind of comparable to Kyler Murray, but he doesn't have a lot of games under his belt in college, though. And it's pretty much like the whole Trubisky thing. Now, do you give a guy like this a chance and draft him in the first round? Maybe if you're like the Panthers or somebody like that would make sense, because you have Teddy Bridgewater there. So if you feel like maybe Teddy's not the best chance for us to win, let's throw this guy Lance in there and see what he can give us. That makes sense, like in that situation. But for a team like the Bears, who need a quarterback to really put them over the top and do good right now and compete, he's probably not the answer. Did Trey Lance make any of your guys' list?
No.
Okay, yeah.
Not.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. I mean, I just don't feel like I feel like he has talent, but really, it's just the same thing as same situation as Trubisky. Doesn't have enough games under his belt. One guy I'm curious where you guys ranked them, if you did rank them, is Mac Jones. Did Mac Jones make your list?
Yeah, I considered it. I considered putting him in there, but I just didn't, because right now, I mean, they're even scouting people as quarterback will go ahead of him in the draft. So I didn't put him in there. I only have one guy from this upcoming draft. I think you
Trevor
can
Lawrence?
take a wild guess as to who that is. Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the thing about Mac Jones is that a lot of people don't think that they know that he's smart and that he makes good decisions, kind of like what Brady's been doing his whole career, or like a Drew Brees or something. But they just say he had so much talent around him in Alabama, which is the truth. I mean, he had Najee Harris, he had Joe's guy, Smith, a great offensive line. I mean, the team was just stacked. So the chances of this guy coming in and performing right away are probably really low, but who knows? Like, and they're saying he's not as mobile, and the quarterback game right now is pretty mobile. At least in fantasy football, it matters a lot too. We all know that from playing. Like, you want a mobile quarterback that can rush for touchdowns. Mac Jones is not going to be that guy, but can he come in right away and perform and help the team win? I guess it really depends on where he goes. But I don't know. He could be like another AJ McCarron. Let's be honest. Another guy that had a lot of talent around him in college and did well, but really hasn't made a name for him. Yep, hasn't had a name for him yet in football, and like Joe said, a backup. So
Career backup.
Career backup, yeah. That's kind of what I think Trubisky could be too. I really do believe that. He hasn't proved to me that he can be a starter. Performing well against the Lions means nothing to me. Any player could perform well against the Lions. But anyways, so you're saying that Trevor Lawrence is the only one that made your list, right, Tony?
Yeah, and I have him at 5.
rookie?
I in between Trubisky and Trevor Lawrence, I had Cam Newton at 6.
Okay.
And I had Trevor Lawrence at 5, which I just think more from like a fantasy type aspect, that if like you're drafting guys and you want to go bold, maybe you take him and make him your QB2, because I'm always a big fan of, believe it or not, I do kind of understand and appreciate Joe's mindset, which is draft good rookies and wait for them, find the right one to have the right breakout. Everything you see and hear about him, it's supposed to be great. Now, granted, he's going to play in Jacksonville, so that could pose a bit of an issue. But he's gonna get the starts. He's gonna
I think, no, you're right. He is gonna get the playing time, and he does have some talent around him. He has DJ Chark. He's a good receiver. They got James Robinson. If they can, re-sign him again, they could also, if they really wanted to. I'm not sure. Does Jacksonville have more than one first-round pick, or is it only one first-round pick? Does anybody know that offhand? Maybe somebody could look that. Maybe somebody that could look that up, because I want to know. If that's the case, then they can maybe like take Lawrence number 1 and take maybe Najee Harris later on, or even try to trade to get another pick in the first round and grab Najee Harris there too. And then you'll have Lawrence and Najee Harris. That would be something to watch.
Jacksonville also has the Rams pick at 25.
Okay, so Najee Harris will be available. I'm guessing he could be available towards the end of that first round. So maybe watch for Jacksonville to make a splash and grab Najee Harris with that pick. That would be pretty interesting to watch, Najee Harris and Trevor Lawrence as rookies together. But then they also are in the hunt for Hunter Henry too, to actually try to pick up Henry to sign him via free agency. So watch out for Jacksonville. So who's the number 1 guy on your list then, Tony?
I had Watson. Because you have a premier. Just in terms of where is he going to go and what's going to happen. I understand the asking price has got to be huge, but rightfully so. And I've always, you could ask this to my cousin. I have unreasonably been a fan of Watson. I don't know why. I don't know what my reasoning is. I just think he's a good stud quarterback. And if I'm a GM and here's my thing. The thing that I don't like about the NFL and how it's treated by like its own fans is that it's the biggest league where if you have one down season, you suddenly are just garbage and you shouldn't even be in the NFL then. Like at least in the NBA and NHL and MLB, like you have a down season, people look for you to rebound. And then even if you struggle, then the question becomes, well, could they just need to change of scenery? Is there just an element of their game they need to work on? Is there something going on behind the scenes we don't see? In the NFL, it's if you have 2 bad seasons in a row, you basically should be like a horse at the Kentucky Derby that like broke its leg. You should just be shot on the field and everybody should just like forget you even existed. And that's what I don't like. So like, for example, like people are like, oh, well, that's given up a lot to get Deshaun Watson. And yet Bears fans literally a few years ago when we traded for Khalil Mack were like, well, in order to get the big guys, you got to make the big moves. And like, that's the same thing here, isn't it? Like if you want like a franchise caliber, a really good quarterback, like you're going to have to pay up for him. But this is a quarterback league. Like I don't understand. Like if you have a guy who's a bona fide number 1, he's a no question top 8 quarterback in the league, like just go grab him, like just go get him. Like the same thing with Russ, like Russell Wilson, like he's a good quarterback. Like I don't know why people are talking about him like oh yeah, it's a lot, I guess you just got to see and feel it out. Like no, like if he's interested, as long as you don't get yourself into a bidding war, especially if you don't get yourself into a bidding war. What's that?
He definitely takes a lot of hits, though.
Right. Yeah. But like at the end of the day, other than maybe like, let's look, other than Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Green Bay, Buffalo, and Baltimore, like, what's another team that if they said, would you rather have, and I guess like Arizona, and honest to God, that might be it. Like, I guess a team like Cincinnati who has Joe Burrow too, but like, and the chart, and having Justin Herbert helps. But like, other than like that, like literally what 2/3 of the league, if you say, would you rather have the quarterback you have now or Russell Wilson? If Minnesota, and I know right. I don't think Minnesota was on Wilson's like list.
No, but yeah.
But like, if you're Minnesota and like someone comes up to you and says like, with no attachment, would you rather have Kirk Cousins or Russell Wilson? If somebody says like Kirk Cousins, they should immediately just like be excommunicated from Minnesota. Like, so that's why I just think like with Watson and Wilson, I have them as my 1-2, and I just think they're both fantastic, and you just got to go get them.
Kyle Rudolph's been released.
Yeah, that's
true. We're gonna get to that. We'll get to that, but yeah, I agree. Like Russell Wilson and Watson are definitely 1 and 2 for me as well. I do have Russ on top though, because, I mean, it's hard for me to actually rank these guys 1 and 2 here, but I do have Russ on top, and the reason is because he proved himself already. He has a Super Bowl ring. He is older, obviously, than Watson. Watson's pretty young still, and I think he's barely hitting his prime like right now. So I really think that Watson probably is, if they do decide to trade him in Texas, I think that he's going to get the most. They're going to get the most for him. Now Wilson is going to be a pretty pricey tag as well, but I think that you can possibly acquire Wilson for a little bit of a cheaper price. It's not going to be much difference, but
Watson's 7 years younger than Wilson, so you're getting 7 more years of a quality quarterback than with Wilson. You probably have at least another 3 or 4 good years, I would imagine, unless something happens or he's in just a garbage team. But I
agree. If he's anything like Tom Brady, he'll play into his 40s. I mean, I think Wilson's like 30. If I could be wrong on this, but I think he's like 32 or 33, something like that. So, okay. So, yeah, I mean, I think he has at least a solid, let's say, 6 seasons left. He could probably play, if he's lucky, he can make it into his 40s like Tom Brady and play until he's 42, 43, and that means that he'll have a whole decade left still playing. So, I mean, the price tag is going to be steep for both of these guys, but it's going to be worth it, whoever can acquire them. And I've said it a million times since I've heard this Russell Wilson news. If the Bears get him, like, I'll be ecstatic. Like, we're instantly going to be competing if we get him. I mean, we're really only one quarterback shy of doing anything. I mean, that's how I look at it. That's how I've looked at it for the last 2 years. Without a competent quarterback, you can't do nothing in this league. But if you can get a guy like Russell Wilson, that's going to change the whole outcome of how your team performs and what you can actually do in this league.
But they also need to invest in that offensive line because it's not very good over there.
Yes, I agree. They've had issues in the past with the offensive line. Towards the end of the year, the offensive line did play better within those last, I would say, 5 to 6 games. But then on the other side of it too, the teams that they were playing weren't really that good either. So can you how much can you really account the offensive line for playing better when the teams that they were facing weren't really, top tier defenses? But Joe, so what about your list? Who's your top 5 guys on your list?
Well, I am expecting Dak Prescott to have a bounce back season, so yeah.
Okay, so Dak. And
have a killer bounce back season, yes.
Who's your top rookie? Is it Trevor Lawrence?
Yes, but I would not be surprised if a team trades up to try to get Justin Fields. Mark my
Yeah.
word on that.
Who, Joe?
No,
Who?
which team?
I'd say the Eagles, but I'm not certain on that. I don't think they're completely sold on Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
Just because the
Uh-huh.
GM and Doug Peterson didn't get along on that issue.
okay. It's a valid point. I have heard rumors that what Joe says is somewhat true. It just seems really odd that the Eagles would not want to give Jalen Hurts the reins, especially after trading Carson Wentz to the Colts. It
Right.
seems really odd to me that they wouldn't rather use that pick to kind of just build around Hurts. They don't really have a whole lot of playmakers over there in Philly outside of
Have you noticed the trend
Jalen
here?
Reagor.
I'll mention this. I will mention this trend. The Eagles take Jalen Reagor.
Yeah.
The next pick was Justin Jefferson by the Vikings.
Yes.
The Eagles take J.J. Arcega-Whiteside.
Yes.
And then Seattle comes
DK
out
Metcalf.
DK Metcalf, correct.
Can I tell you what I think is going to happen?
They have a habit of not drafting the correct guys.
And
to,
those were first round picks too by the Eagles.
I don't know if DK Metcalf was, but Jalen Reagor was definitely.
Yeah.
And Jalen Reagor
it's-
had some injury issues this past season, so we'll see
Yeah,
if
he
he
did.
bounces back.
He's not a number one though. I'll tell you that. Like he's a good receiver. Like watching his highlights from college and stuff. He's really
I didn't have their
speedy.
eyes set on that right away. I think they were
Hmm.
going to try and develop him to be one.
They could possibly, but let's not forget that Doug Peterson was there when they drafted him. So I don't know if that's even going to be a possibility anymore without him there anymore. But yeah, that's not a good trend to have though for the Eagles. So hopefully they don't miss out on another receiver this year.
So wait, Joe, who do you think's getting the Eagles then, or going to the Eagles? Do you think it's Devontae? Who?
I have a feeling Justin Fields will.
What do you think Atlanta would take him if he was there at 4?
What, Justin
A
Fields?
possibility.
Yeah, because Matt
No,
Ryan.
I think
Because Matt
Philly
Ryan is old and
him.
bad.
But there's the other problem I see with Justin Fields is I don't think he's ready either. He's got another year of eligibility to play, and he didn't show me much in that national championship game.
So then you get Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
mentors him for a year.
Yeah, but who did he play? Didn't he beat? Who did they beat? Who did Ohio State beat before they?
To play in Alabama, they just smoked.
I know that, but I mean, when they won that game, they beat Clemson, right? Ohio State.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, that's the thing about.
Then again, they struggled against Northwestern in the Big Ten championship. So
Yeah,
I'm a little skeptical of what's going on here.
it is true. There's no doubt about it that Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in this draft and possibly the best player in the draft. It's just, I don't know how I feel about him being clutch, though. I mean, he didn't perform well in the last 2 championship games. And I think he won, if I'm not mistaken, he won the championship his freshman season. But the last 2 years, he did not. And his performances were not that great at all in those championship games. So, I don't know. I don't mean to bring another sport up, but it kind of reminds me of Zach LaVine right now. He's a great player for the Bulls, and I love Zach LaVine, and I really do hope that the Bulls keep him, but he's not clutch. He's not Chris Paul. He's not a guy that really lights it up in the fourth and you give the ball to and can close the game. And that's kind of what I feel like Trevor Lawrence could be. If the game's on the line in the fourth quarter and they need a drive, can he be that guy? I don't know. Especially with this Jaguars team. I really don't know if he can be the guy with this Jaguars team. But I don't know. Those are everything we talked about was good discussion though. Was there any other quarterback that you guys wanted to mention?
Well, hold on, I got a spicy take if you guys are ready for it.
Sure. Go for
All right,
it.
I'm going to help Joe out on this one. Philadelphia has 6. Miami has the 3rd pick from Houston and the 18th. What if Philadelphia and Miami switch? Philadelphia moves up to 3, grabs the quarterback ahead of Atlanta because if they think Atlanta's going to take their guy, if they go quarterback, boom.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Atlanta will not draft him, but that's just me. Their defense is suspect as anything. They're probably looking to build on that.
Mm-hmm. I have a feeling that the Jets are gonna trade out of that 2nd spot. I really don't think that. I think Sam Darnold is still young, and I really don't think that would.
Well, of course he's
Adam
young.
Gase. I don't think Adam Gase was the right person to coach him, and I think that that guy from the Niners that came over as the head coach
Robert
now.
Saleh?
Yeah, I think he's gonna give him another chance, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets traded out of that pick, or maybe even just picked a good playmaker there, like the Alabama receiver, or like a Jamar Chase, or somebody that can just be like a number 1, like right away for them.
God, Houston doesn't pick until the 67th pick. That's insane.
No, Houston got. Oh wait, this is a trade. Never mind. Yeah, I'm reading this mock draft right now on CBS, but I think it was a trade that Houston traded up for.
No, yeah, Houston gave their 1st and their 2nd to Miami, so Houston doesn't pick until 67th. So that's another thing, is that if Houston wants to trade Deshaun, that's how they recoup a 1st. If they're really just going to tear down the team, that's just the way to do it. So if you look at who's in the top 15 in the draft, who needs a quarterback, I mean, do they try and – I mean, that would actually be kind of fun if the Jets ended up somehow trading for Deshaun Watson and then Houston ends up getting the pick that's ahead of what their original pick was supposed to be. But I think that's too fun, and I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what Miami's gonna do, because they have 2 picks in the draft, and I'm really interested to see what they do with those, because do they like their quarterback that they have currently? Do they want to try to get a different quarterback to replace him? Do they want to trade for Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson or somebody like that and trade some of those picks to acquire them? Like, there's a lot of things that Miami could do in this draft. Like, they can target Najee Harris for running back. They can actually target somebody like Aaron Jones in free agency. They're going to be a completely different team next year. So, and they competed last year too in that division with Fitzpatrick there most of the season. Yeah, so they're going to be interesting to see what they do in the draft. It's going to be a really interesting offseason. It's already been an interesting offseason thus far, but it's just going to the draft is going to make things a lot more interesting as far as what teams do. Oh, we lost Joe. Still there, Tony?
No, I'm here.
Okay, I think we lost Joe. So we got about 6 minutes remaining on this one. I am going to start up another one after this. But in the next 6 minutes, if we could just move on to the next topic for now, and then we'll just go into the next podcast with that new topic. So we're going to talk about the NFL news out there. So there's a couple things that broke this past weekend. I'm just going to go through them really quick, and then you guys can tell me which one you want to talk about. So obviously the Russell Wilson trade hype is out there. We've talked a little bit about that already. Washington released Alex Smith from their team recently, and J.J. Watt signed a 2-year deal with the Arizona Cardinals. That's pretty big news right there. Some people don't even have Arizona on his list at all to even consider going there. So that was pretty big. Bears did sign a new head coach, Tom Herman. and named him the offensive analyst and special projects assistant. I have no idea what that means. If any of you guys want to enlighten me on that, because what in the heck kind of title is that?
Yeah.
Jeez. And then another thing that I saw was Tom Brady actually put a statement out there saying that he wanted to match Peyton Manning, what he did in Denver, saying how he went from Indy to Denver and won a Super Bowl with them. So that was his motivation this past season, going to the Bucs and trying to win a Super Bowl. I thought that was pretty interesting because, Tom Brady's a GOAT, but it seems like he always finds something to throw a match in the fire and just get out there and just, he's always hungry, and it's really motivation to me as a person overall.
Is he always?
He is, Joe. He is.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you don't like Brady very much, do you?
No, he's a cock.
And that's okay. I mean, you don't have to like Brady. But let me tell you, I didn't like him very much when he was on the Patriots, but it was because he won so much. And I truly, like last year, I respected the guy for changing teams and actually still winning a Super Bowl. So that's just my take on that. And the final piece of news that's out there.
A lot to do with
with what?
I think it had a lot to do with the commission.
Yeah, it could have.
Well, there's still conspiracy about the fix being in there, but I don't know.
I don't know.
I still find a fix being in.
I mean,
there's been a lot of talk of a fix being in that LeBron's been in the finals the last 10 years, but
Yeah, well, that's
what's the difference?
Well, yeah, that's what they were saying actually, like with the whole Brady thing. How is Brady like doing the same thing that LeBron's been doing in the NBA for the last couple of years? And I don't think that that's really the case. Like to me, that's just really far fetched. LeBron's a great player, but I believe he really did ruin the NBA, and I don't feel that way about Brady. There's a lot more guys on the football team that you need to rely on other than your quarterback means a lot, but you have to rely on other guys too to actually get the job done. When it's in basketball, a lot of the times it's just a one player team. Like you can literally throw LeBron out there and he has guys around him like Irving and stuff and Davis and Wade and Bosch in their prime. Like it's not even fair.
But isn't this what we do in sports? This is what we do all the time. We want to see good young talent come in and be successful, and then we get mad when they're successful.
Yeah,
this happens all the time. This is. I guarantee you. You can look back on this in 10 years, and it's exactly what everyone's going to hate Mahomes. Everyone's going to hate him. They're going to hate the Chiefs, and they're going to hate Mahomes because they're going to be good. We don't want we want people to be good for 4 years, and then we want them to suffer. That's how it is. That's how it is.
No, that is a good perspective. Or we want them to be good if they're our team. If it's our team, it's fine.
That's all it is.
If Mahomes was a Bear and we were winning all the time, I'd be okay with it. I'm okay with it now because I think he's a good player. And I think Brady's a good player. So it doesn't bother me. In football, as of right now, it does not bother me. Basketball, different story. It does bother me. But, it is what it is there. And the last piece of news is the Irv Smith news. I think this is huge news. Kyle Rudolph got released by the Vikings. It's Irv Smith time. Is it not, guys?
Sure. It's Minnesota. It doesn't matter.
It does matter, okay? If you watch Irv Smith play, you could definitely see generational talent there. And there's no way that they would have released Rudolph if they did not want to have this guy take the next step. He's 20 years old.
Cousins is still the quarterback, right?
Yeah, but Cousins is viable. Would you have Cousins or Trubisky?
Trubisky.
Oh my God. We disagree on that one a lot. I would rather have Cousins. At least Cousins slings the ball. I mean,